What was the dirtiest, slimiest, most backstabbing thing you didn't regret? I used to spend summers with my uncle who ran a campground, and he taught me all kind of useful skills. One was how to make a key that would open all master locks that were similar. Well, back in the 70s just about everyone had the same locks on their garage doors, and garage door openers were not around yet, or our neighborhood didn't have them. So me and my friends decided that we would collect all of the locks off of the garages, mix them up in a bag and put them back on. The next morning everyone came out to go to work and couldn't get their cars out of the garage. The entire block was standing outside wondering what happened. It was really funny for about 5 minutes. Then I felt bad. My dad said it's a good thing our garage is full of crap and we park our cars outside. Hilarious and evil at the same time. My next door neighbor's kid used to be an inconsiderate, rude a-hole, and his parents let him and his brother get away with it. Well, one time he put gravel on my windscreen wipers because I saw him out the window doing it, and his parents knew he did this but thought it was a mere practical joke. So I waited until it was dark, and I grabbed some gravel and stuck it right on top of their windscreen wipers, but inside them too. His parents did not think it was funny when it was their windscreen that got scratched to crap. Can't blame you on that. I hate parents who watch their little shoots do things and do nothing about it. I am a moderator on a local second-hand Facebook group. An old lady put up a very nice bed for a very low price. I deleted the post and contacted her. Got the bed before anyone had the chance to bid on it. Fricked up, yet such a power move. You must get great deals. I used to have anorexia in early high school years, was hospitalized for a couple of years. Came back to school. It took me an hour to eat lunch, cutting a sandwich into 36 pieces and the like. There was a girl who sat with me every lunch for the whole hour, every lunch, for like a year. Then started to talk to people more and ended up abandoning her. Didn't even realize. By the end of high school she was totally alone. Still, teenage me did not even realize. It wasn't till 2 years later when I looked back that I realized how crappy I had been. Teenagers are assholes. Hope you're doing okay, Yasmin. Telling my mom my sister smoked the devil's lettuce after my sister told my mom I skipped school for a month. When I was maybe 5 or 6, I poked a hole in my parents' waterbed and blamed it on my little brother. He got his butt beat good. In 4th grade my school had this huge ass book sale, and one of my friends bought a super sparkly obnoxious multicolored diary. We all thought it was perfect. Anyway, this one friend of ours had really peed me off all week. Told me I wasn't pretty enough to be Belle when we played princesses. Crap like that. Diary girl and B girl were best friends. I went to Diary girl's locker to move the diary to B girl's locker to frame her for stealing it, but couldn't find it. Diary friend caught me there and I said I just wanted to see it because it was so pretty. So she was like, yeah sure, but when she opened her locker she couldn't find it either. I decided to stick to the plan and blame B girl for stealing it. I got in so much trouble for starting rumors and got lectured by our teacher in front of my entire class. Then my teacher actually caught B girl with the diary. Turns out she had actually stole it. It was a really weird turn of events. 2 minute plot twist. A girl who sat in front of me in high school was very obese. She turned around and said something nasty to me. So, I put a few pieces of tape on a sheet of paper. Did the old pat your back with a distracting comment. She walked around the rest of the day with a wide load sign stuck to her back. Regretted it when I realized how many people were laughing at her all day. To preface, I was 13 at the time, so keep this in mind. I had a group of friends in an AOL chat. The story is about 2. Let's call them Maddie and John. I really liked John. Big crush on him. One time Maddie and I were chatting and she said that John was flirting with her, so she wanted to ask him out because she never had a boyfriend before. I was devastated. A few days later, John messaged me and asked why I have been ignoring him. I explained that I told Maddie I was going to ask you out. Lie. But she beat me to it to see if she could get you to say yes first. Lie. Because she was mad at me for something. Lie. He believed me, dumped her, and we dated for 8 years. Eek. I'm not sure what happened to Maddie. We all stayed in touch maybe a year or 2 after this, and she had another boyfriend, but I was a 13 YOB. In elementary school my class did an Easter egg hunt. There was a special egg that had glitter glue put on it so that it'd sparkle. If you got that egg, then you got a special prize. I saw this one girl reaching into a bush. This girl was the shyest girl. She never spoke to anyone except for whispering in the teacher's ear when she needed to say something. I instinctively reached into the bush too, thinking that she might be looking for an egg. I found the special egg. I now feel awful about stealing that egg from her when she was too shy to stand up for herself. Bad human. I pretended to throw the ball for my dog, but I really didn't. Bad human. I crushed up a bunch of no-dose caffeine pills and put it in tiny baggies so I could sell it as M or Coke at a rave. I wasn't the best person back then. A friend of mine was looking for uppers that night and I told him, I'll sell you this, but it's not very good. You should see if someone will trade you for something better. I got my money. He got arrested for selling fake drugs to an undercover cop. I feel pretty bad about that one. Still, it happened about 13 years ago. Holy crap, this is terrible on all accounts. When I was in 5th grade, my friends and I wanted to be in the talent show. My friend, I'll call her Sarah, wanted to be a part of it. I told her that she needed to slim down if she was going to be in it with us. Sarah was and is still insecure about her weight. I felt like such an butthole and regret it to this day. In college I was on a rowing team. I told my coach that I had a family situation. Skipped a regatta to go home and hook up with a girl who I'd been flirting with. The date went poorly. She was distant the whole time. Turns out she was sick with mono and didn't know. Ended up that I let my team down for nothing and got mono from that girl. Didn't even kiss her. Let the team down. Got mono. Sick for months. Rose before hose. I don't know if this counts, but I used to work at a restaurant and there was a couple in there with their baby. He was in a high chair and was definitely less than 1 year old. I noticed the kid looked like he was imitating my hand movements from across the room, so I started moving them and watching him. He was definitely following everything I was doing, although a little jerkily, and he was mirroring the movements with his hands. I was quite impressed. He was obviously bright for his age. After a few hand gestures, an idea occurred to me that was too delicious to pass up. I moved my fist to my forehead, and sure enough, he goes to imitate. He pushes his little hand into a ball, thrusts his fist up rapidly, and bonks himself in the face. There was this really confused look on his face like he was trying to figure out who hit his forehead. I did it 3 more times because it was hilarious. There was a kid in high school in the mid-90s that I really hated and had a couple of altercations with. I was a skinny kid and couldn't really do anything physically to anyone, so I got a bit creative. I made an AOL account with part of his name, made a profile that sounded realistic, and then found some minorities in school to toss a few racial epithets at. Later, I heard that a group of people cornered him in the locker room and were going to beat the crap out of him until he somehow talked himself out of it. Now imagine if you saved him. I thought this was where the story was going. Was young and mad. My dad's email was opened on the computer. I told his boss to go to hell, but luckily my dad was let off the hook because I misspelled it. Was peed off at a friend whilst at his house, so went into his fridge and stabbed his bowl of jelly. You monster. I was bullied pretty badly in middle school, particularly by a girl called Hannah. Both of Hannah's parents were doctors. Her older brother was a lawyer. Hannah got straight A's and had an incredibly nice boyfriend. In my eyes, she had everything I wanted: wealth, good reputation, a social life, etc. I simultaneously hated her and was incredibly jealous. One day it all got to be too much. I can't remember exactly what she said to me, but it pushed me over the line. I was absolutely furious. So I made a plan. I waited until everyone left the girls' locker room during gym class, found her bag, and emptied the whole thing into the toilet. She had all her clothes, jewelry, school books, and even her phone in her bag. I ruined it all. Thinking back, I can't believe I did that. It was so cruel, especially considering that I knew how it felt to be bullied. In my junior year of college, I was taking organic chemistry. and my lab partner was one of my friends I lived with the previous year in the dorms. We had to pay for these cards in the beginning of the year. They were $125 insurance cards that were non-refundable. The idea was the $125 would cover the cost of materials we broke. Anyway, we never broke anything, so at the end of the year we're like, hey, we gave them $250 for nothing, so we decided to steal stuff that we didn't think was that expensive. Stuff like 1-ounce sample jars, test tubes, basically stuff we could store or serve stuff in. But we also took this titration beaker thing. No idea why, but we always thought it looked cool. So we got back and were just enjoying our loot when we decided to look up the titration thing. It was like $300. So we felt bad. My friend and I like to be jerks sometimes when it was funny, but we, and especially he, never did anything that would be considered particularly outright mean. I was slightly more of a jerk for fun. So I forwarded him a fake email about how stealing lab equipment totaling more than $250 could be considered a petty larceny, which was a felony, and could be grounds for expulsion. I was also friends with his roommate at the time, who reported that he first just heard a lot of scrolling when he was presumably reading the email. After that, he was rolling on the floor moaning, going, oh god, oh god, oh god. So I actually made him think we were gonna get expelled because he was kind of a sweet, gullible kid. I didn't think he would actually believe it for more than a few seconds. I felt bad. I later told him it was a prank. Broke my friend's gate as a kid and let my other friend take the fall for it. I don't regret it, but I scrubbed my butthole with my roommate's toothbrush when I discovered she was cheating me on bills and rent. Not sorry. It was a lovely 3 months listening to her brush morning and night. My stepsister stole my diary and read a very personal part of it to her friends. It was about my dad and his alcoholism, and when I found out I was crushed, I thought of her as an actual sister before that moment. I scrubbed our toilet with her toothbrush. This was about 7 years ago. This was in middle school, which was just a terrible time all around. I was pretty seriously bullied and the teachers did nothing about it. One day, one of the 2 girls who was actually nice to me was very upset. She said her diary wasn't in her backpack anymore and she didn't know what had happened to it. There was this popular girl a year ahead of me who, in hindsight, I had been seriously crushing on. But at the time I was very Christian and denying all signs of the gay. Anyway, she came up to me, which really freaked me out because that never happened. She said she needed a favor from me. She needed me to hold on to something until this other popular kid could get it. And I needed to be very sneaky about it and keep it a secret. Okay, now already this sounded pretty wrong, but also I was thinking, if I do this will she like me, so I said yes. And she pulled out something that was very obviously the nice girl's diary. She'd been telling me what it looked like earlier in the day. Should I have done something? Yeah, but I didn't. I just passed it on without comment. It turned out one of the popular kids had grabbed the diary out of her backpack and they'd been passing it around and reading it and laughing about it all day. My school being my school, no one ever got in trouble for this. When the nice girl found out, she was crying and I remember thinking I could have done something to stop this, but I didn't. I never told her that I knew about it. It's not the most horrible thing, but it's definitely stuck in my head. I remember berating a nice girl all lunchtime, telling her that she was stupid and dumb because she had red hair. She was crying and we somehow got away with it. In 7th grade band, I played a dumb prank by hiding my friend's trumpet. Thought he'd ask where it was and I'd laugh and show him, but he showed up a bit late and we all started. He said someone stole his instrument and the director stopped the entire class and made us sit in silence until someone would confess. After several minutes of nobody saying anything, he declared that he was cancelling a planned trip to Disney. Everyone started groaning and some even stood up shouting for the culprit to come forward. I stood up and said, "It was me. I did it." The director said, "Thank you Fenton 23 for trying to take the fall for the thief, but you don't have to do that." After class, everyone congratulated me and thanked me for trying to take the heat and blamed someone else. The person who was blamed eventually kept getting left out of social events and quit band altogether while I was proclaimed a hero. When my dad suggested I shouldn't work such long hours as a freelancer for crappy pay and maybe find a better paying full-time job, I answered, "I can't. I need the money." "Or what? You're gonna support me with your pay?" conveniently forgetting he did raise me till I was of working age. I felt like an absolute slimeball that day, especially when I saw that look of hurt on his face. For freelancing, you should be getting a premium for your work. I get 50% more than when I had a full-time job. In 6th grade, a shy awkward boy asked me to the Valentine's Day dance with a little heart-shaped box that had a ticket inside and a card with roses on it. I didn't really want to go with him, but I was uncomfortable and he went through so much effort. I said yes. On the bus I told my friends and they laughed at me, so I joined in saying how awkward it was and then tossed the card out the window. I still went to the dance with him, meaning I ignored him and talked with my friends and danced with him once. I wasn't cruel. I was so concerned with what my friends thought of me. Acting too good for him made me feel cool during a really insecure time. He crushed on me throughout all of middle school and it just fed my self-esteem. I was nice to him, but I was aware and didn't care about his feelings. But I always kept that little heart-shaped box, and after middle school I looked back and realized what a sweet guy he was. I apologized for how I treated him. He told me he always knew I threw that card out of the window. It didn't matter. We never dated. I distanced myself from him, because though he was sweet, I didn't have romantic feelings for him and I knew it would be cruel to hang around. He's turned out great, went to a great school, works in a children's hospital, is an avid sailor. We keep in touch on occasion when he's in town, but I'll never truly forgive myself for how I treated him all those years ago. I'm not an expert, but it sounds like he forgave you years ago, and that you should forgive yourself. We all do crappy things in middle school to fit in. Everyone gets manipulated into doing what the people around them want them to do. It's okay to forgive yourself. You're only human. I went to high school with a kid who drove like an idiot. To make matters worse, he had a huge truck and lived in my neighborhood, so we often went on the same route to school. He would frequently cut me off and ride on my tail even when I would go over the speed limit. Think of a BMW driver in a compensator truck. Anyways, the final straw came when we were both in the school parking lot, and there were 2 open parking spots near the front with plenty of room for both of us. I was about to pull into my spot when this douche decides to double park his Mad Max truck in both of the spots. Now, I have to go park in the spillover and school was about to start in 2 minutes. That's when I realized that I possessed a weapon. The previous weekend, I had bought a gallon of milk from the grocery that had expired early. I must have put it in my car with the intent of taking it to the store and getting a refund, but I was sidetracked on my way to the store and I had forgotten about it. I unscrewed the cap to make sure that it smelled bad, and sure enough, it smelled like crap. I waited for everyone to clear out of the parking lots, and I made my way to the truck. Considering it was the South in May, the temperature was going to reach plus 97 degrees that day, so he decided to leave his windows slightly cracked to let the air ventilate in his black interior black exterior Dodge Mobile. I hopped up on the step bar, emptied the entire gallon of spoiled milk into driver's side, threw away the empty jug in the dumpster nearby, and headed to class. When we were dismissed at 4, the temp was 99 degrees. It had reached 102 degrees at noon, so I was expecting catastrophic results. Sure enough, he was at his truck screaming at his friends and dialing the police. The next day, we had an assembly and the school faculty attempted to find out who was responsible for this heinous crime. They never suspected a thing from me. You have been visited by the Wealth Rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.